Welcome, dear dreamer. Tonight, I invite you to rest your head softly on your pillow. Breathe deeply and drift slowly into a world so distant, yet hauntingly familiar. Have you ever wondered what it felt like to live behind heavy stone walls, hearing only the echo of your own prayers, never to taste the sweetness of love, nor feel the warmth of a family embrace again? Let's slip quietly into the year 1297, to a damp, moss-covered convent perched on a hill in northern France. The air is thick with the scent of burning tallow candles and damp woolen habits. You hear the low, murmuring chants that drift endlessly through the cold corridors like distant waves lapping at a stony shore. You, dear listener, are now Sister Marguerite. Your fingers are raw from endless embroidery and scrubbing pewter dishes. You're only 17, yet your days already blur into a soft gray tapestry of silent meals and midnight vigils. You didn't exactly choose this life. Your family, eager to secure more land for your brothers, sent you away with a dowry to the convent. Outside these heavy oak doors, the world is loud and unpredictable. In the convent, time moves differently. Bells mark each hour like small hammer strokes on your soul. You wake up before the sun, when frost still bites your cheeks, and you shuffle into the frigid chapel in bare feet. The only warmth comes from your breath, curling like ghostly silk in the darkness. You might think convents were places of peaceful escape, but they were also prisons of the mind and body. While peasants outside struggled to feed themselves, you too felt the gnawing ache of hunger. Thin vegetable broth, stale rye bread crawling with weevils. Meat was a rare luxury, reserved only for feast days, and even then you'd eat it in silence, staring at the floor. Some sisters whispered of divine ecstasy, of visions and miracles, but most felt only a dull ache of isolation. In the scriptorium, your eyes strain under the candlelight as you copy sacred texts, each letter a small act of devotion, or perhaps a small act of survival. The smell of ink and sheet parchment is sharp and oddly comforting, a brief distraction from the constant ache in your knees from endless hours of prayer. Disease was an ever-present specter, slipping through the convent walls as easily as moonlight through cracks in the shutters. Fevers carried sisters away in the night. One day you might be sharing a hymn with Sister Anne, and the next she lies pale and still in the cloister garden, covered with a thin linen shroud. Yet, in this web of suffering and sacrifice, you feel a strange pride, a sense of belonging to something eternal, something beyond your own small heartbeat. You see the rich abbess wearing a fur-lined mantle, her golden crucifix gleaming like a tiny sun. Proof that even in devotion there were hierarchies. You envy her warmth and fullness, but you keep your head bowed. And so, as you drift further into this cold, candlelit labyrinth of faith and duty, you start to wonder, was this sacrifice truly holy, or merely a clever way for families to rid themselves of inconvenient daughters? As you breathe in this musty convent air, let that question swirl gently in your mind, like incense smoke rising toward a dark, vaulted ceiling. Good night, dear dreamer. Let your thoughts float softly and your eyelids grow heavy with wonder and gentle sorrow. You wake before dawn, the bell echoing through the cloister like a hollow iron heartbeat. Your eyelids flutter open reluctantly, the thin straw mattress crackling beneath you. It is winter, and your breath drifts above you in little gray clouds, as if your soul is trying to escape before the day begins. You pull your coarse blanket around your shoulders, the wool scratching your skin. The air smells faintly of damp stone, ashes, and something sweetly rotten, perhaps yesterday's turnip stew still lingering in the communal pots. You move slowly, your bones protesting, each creak and shiver reminding you that comfort is not part of this divine arrangement. Outside your cell, Sister Agnes passes, her steps muffled, her face hidden in her cowl. You can almost hear her silent prayers as she clutches her rosary, beads clicking like tiny bones. The silence here is so deep it feels alive, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. In the refectory, you join the other sisters for the first meal of the day. There is no chatter, no laughter, only the soft sound of spoons scraping wooden bowls, the occasional cough echoing like a small thunderclap. You taste the thin porridge, watery, barely salted, with the occasional tough oat husk that crunches unpleasantly between your teeth. You glance at Sister Catherine, who has dark hollows under her eyes. She has been assigned to care for the sick, and last night she sat by Sister Beatrice's bedside, wiping sweat from her brow until dawn. Beatrice had been raving about angels and fiery serpents, her mind drifting somewhere between fever dreams and desperate prayers. This morning, her bed is empty, and Catherine's hands tremble as she lifts her spoon. After the meager meal, you join the others in the freezing cloister garden. Here you tend to the struggling winter herbs. Rosemary and thyme shiver in the frosty air. Your fingers go numb as you pull weeds and press the cold earth. You feel a strange closeness to these little plants, fighting to stay alive against the cruel cold. As the day stretches on, you are sent to the scriptorium again. The room is dim, lit only by narrow slits in the stone walls and the flicker of candles. You dip your quill into the ink, careful not to blot the fine parchment. Each line is a quiet, rhythmic prayer, a dance of ink and breath. You know that one mistake might earn you an extra penance, a night kneeling on cold flagstones, whispering psalms until your voice gives out. The abbess enters, her heavy robes brushing the floor like a proud, silent wave. She inspects your work with narrowed eyes. You feel her gaze like a cold draft on your neck. She nods, and for a moment, you feel almost seen. Then she turns away, and you are invisible once more. At Vespers, the last light of the day slips away behind the hills. The chapel fills with a low hum of chanting, a sound so ancient it feels like it might crack the very stones around you. You taste the cold incense smoke on your tongue, bitter and sweet, heavy enough to make your head swirl. As you kneel, your mind drifts beyond the walls. You wonder what life is like in the village, beyond the convent gate. You imagine children chasing each other through muddy streets, a baker pulling warm loaves from the oven, a young woman weaving ribbons into her hair. You wonder if anyone thinks of you, if they remember your laugh before it was buried beneath layers of wool and ritual. But there's no time for such dangerous thoughts. A sharp glance from Sister Agnes brings you back. You bow your head, your forehead brushing the cold wooden pew in front of you. And in this moment of deep, aching stillness, you realize, here, your identity has dissolved. You are not a daughter, nor a sister, nor a dreamer. You are simply a vessel, an echo of prayers, a flicker of candlelight against ancient stone. Sleep softly now, dear dreamer. Let the echoes of chants guide you deeper into gentle rest. Tonight, a bitter wind howls outside the convent walls, as if the world beyond is calling your name, but you must not listen. You lie awake on your straw mattress, feeling each creak of the wooden beams above you as though they echo inside your chest. You remember when you first arrived here. You were so young, your hair still long and shining, your cheeks flushed with the warmth of the outside sun. The day they cut your hair, you felt each snip like a quiet death. The hair fell in pale waves around your feet, and with it, your last ties to the world outside were severed. You watched it be gathered and thrown away, as though it were nothing but shed wool from a sheep. In the convent, beauty is dangerous. You hide it under coarse wool, behind veils and silence. Even your thoughts must be watched, like stray cats at the edge of a garden. Desire is the enemy. A slip of the mind can mean hours of confession, of whispered penance, of kneeling until your knees bloom purple. By the pale morning light, you move again through the icy halls, your bare feet burning with cold. You carry a small earthenware pitcher to the kitchen, careful not to spill a single drop of the thin broth inside. In the kitchen, the smell is sour, old turnips and smoke. Sister Julienne stands by the fire, stirring the pot slowly, her eyes glazed with fatigue. Her fingers are cracked and red, skin peeling from countless hours in the scalding steam. When food is scarce, hunger gnaws at the sisters' bellies like a rat in the night. You have seen sisters faint quietly during prayer, dropping forward into the dark, only to be carried away without a sound. There are no cries here, no protests, only a heavy, suffocating obedience. Once, on a feast day, the convent received a gift, a whole wheel of cheese and a basket of pears. The scent alone was enough to make your mouth water painfully. The abbess cut thin slices, careful to measure each portion. You watched, dizzy with longing, as a slice on your plate trembled like a small moon in your trembling hands. Even in these moments of supposed celebration, the joy is measured, weighed, and rationed. In the infirmary, you help Sister Catherine wash the dying. The smell of sickness clings to your robe, a sour, sweet stench that lingers in your nose long after you leave. You hold a trembling hand, thin as a bird's wing and whisper prayers as the light leaves her eyes. You wonder, as her chest falls still, if her soul feels relief as it slips past the stone walls and into the night sky. Sometimes you think of your family, your mother's soft hands, the sound of your father's laughter echoing in the fields. But those memories feel like dreams, dissolving each time you try to hold them. The only family you have now is the silent line of veiled women around you, each carrying her own private ocean of grief. When you close your eyes tonight, you feel the chapel's cold breath, the scratch of your habit against your skin, and the deep, echoing hush that fills every corner of this life. And yet, amid this ocean of deprivation and longing, you find tiny moments of warmth. A gentle glance from Sister Agnes as she passes you in the hallway. A quiet squeeze of your hand after evening prayers. Small, secret mercies that glow briefly in the dark. So now, dear dreamer, let your breath slow, your mind soften. Let the faint chant of distant nuns wash over you like a cool stream. Drift deeper into the shadows of your own thoughts and rest. Tonight, the moon is a pale, watchful eye above the convent, casting thin silver streaks across the stone courtyard. You step outside for a moment, your breath rising like tiny prayers into the night. The air is sharp and clean, and for an instant, you almost forget the walls that cage you. You listen to the soft rustle of the orchard trees beyond the gate. Once, you helped gather apples there, their skins cold and smooth beneath your fingers. That day felt almost like freedom, a rare moment when laughter accidentally slipped between the sisters like a startled bird. But afterward, there was penance for a frivolous spirit, and you spent hours kneeling in the chapel, your knees bruised and burning on the stone floor. Inside, the candles are burning low. You join Sister Juliane in the laundry room, where steaming vats of water hiss and spit. You scrub linens stained with sweat, blood, and the faint yellow traces of illness. The soap is harsh, stinging the cuts on your fingers, the scent sharp and medicinal. You move in a trance, each scrub a quiet chant. In the corner, Sister Beatrix hums softly, a tiny rebellion against the enforced silence. After laundry, you carry the heavy baskets back through the echoing hallways. Your shoulders ache, and each step feels like wading through deep snow. You pass by the dormitory where Sister Madeline lies ill. Her breathing is shallow, rattling softly in the stillness. You pause to lay a hand on her forehead, hot as a forge. She opens her eyes, a watery blue, and her lips tremble as she tries to form a prayer. You whisper it for her, your voice catching. Later, in the scriptorium, you find a small note left beneath your writing bench. It is nothing more than a scrap of parchment, but the words feel like a forbidden fruit. You are not forgotten. Your heart beats wildly. You look around, half expecting the abbess to appear from the shadows, but there is no one. Just the flickering candles and the cold drafts creeping along the floor. You fold the note and tuck it beneath your sleeve, feeling it burn against your skin like a secret sun. That night at supper, the bread is particularly hard, nearly impossible to chew. You hear Sister Agnes cough quietly, then press her napkin to her mouth. You see a tiny spot of blood on the fabric before she hides it away. You feel a pang of helplessness, a hollow ache that sits heavy in your chest. During Compline prayers, the final service of the day, the chant is so low it feels like it comes from the bones of the earth itself. You bow and stand, moving as though in a fog. Your mind drifts to the orchard again, to the smell of the apples, to the tiny note hidden in your sleeve. And there, in the midst of chants echoing through cold stone, you feel a flicker of something unexpected. Not quite hope, but a quiet rebellion. A reminder that beneath the wool habit and the endless duties, there still beats a human heart. You return to your cell. The walls close around you like a tomb. You slip under your thin blanket, the notes still pressed to your arm. You close your eyes, and for the first time in weeks, you allow yourself to imagine a world beyond these walls. A sunlit meadow, the warmth of a hand in yours, the taste of honey on fresh bread. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let your breaths grow long and slow. Let your mind wander far beyond the convent gates tonight. Tonight, the convent feels heavier than usual. The dampness clings to your skin, slipping beneath your habit like a silent intruder. You shiver as you move through the cloister walk, the stone underfoot slick and cold. Each footstep sounds impossibly loud, echoing off the arches as though the walls themselves are listening. You find yourself drawn to the chapel. You push open the heavy wooden door, and the smell of beeswax and old incense fills your lungs. The air is thick, almost syrupy, as if centuries of whispered prayers have left the residue you can taste. You sink to your knees before the altar, the chill of the stone biting into your bones. In the flickering candlelight, the wooden Christ above you seems almost alive, his carved eyes half closed in endless sorrow. You whisper confessions you did not even know you carried, small rebellions, wandering thoughts, silent doubts. Your voice is soft, but in this empty chamber, it sounds like thunder. Suddenly, a rustle behind you. Sister Agnes. She stands silently, her face hidden in the shadows. She kneels beside you without a word, her presence both a comfort and a warning. You can feel her breath, shaky and warm, mixing with yours in the cold air. In that moment, you realize how starved you are for human connection, for warmth beyond duty. Later that night, back in your cell, you turn the little note over and over in your fingers. You are not forgotten. You think of the orchard, the laughter, the sweetness of stolen apples. You think of Sister Agnes kneeling beside you, her fragile breath so close. You wonder who slipped you the note. Was it her or someone else quietly watching, silently aching like you? You remember when a traveling friar came to the convent years ago. He spoke of distant lands, of olive groves and sapphire seas, of cities where women laughed openly in the streets. His stories seemed almost dangerous, like glimpses into a forbidden world. After he left, the abbess ordered extra prayers, extra penance, as though words alone could contaminate the purity of these walls. But his voice still echoes in your memory, a quiet, sun-warmed rebellion against the grayness of your days. By the infirmary door, you see Sister Madeline's bed now empty. Her absence feels like a hole torn in the fabric of your days. The other sisters move around it silently, as if stepping over a grave. You slip inside, brush your fingers along the sheets, still faintly warm. In this quiet, you feel the weight of every loss you have carried, every smile buried beneath a veil, every dream pressed into silence. At supper, the bread is slightly moldy today. You pick at it carefully, pretending not to notice. Across the table, Sister Julianne catches your eye and gives the tiniest nod, a small act of solidarity in this gray parade of obedience. You hold her gaze for a heartbeat longer than is proper. 1,000 words pass in that brief exchange. I see you. I am still here. We are still alive. That night, during final prayers, you feel your mind drift. You imagine the feel of grass under your feet, the sun warming your bare arms. You imagine what your life might have been, perhaps a wife in a small village, or a weaver with bright ribbons, or a mother cradling a child by a hearth. You let these forbidden images wash over you like a quiet tide, dangerous and delicious. As you finally slip into your straw bed, you press the note close, a fragile talisman against the cold. You hear the wind rattle the shutters and feel a tear slide down your cheek, not of sorrow, but of a quiet, stubborn yearning. Sleep gently now, dear dreamer. Let your mind wander freely tonight, beyond walls, beyond veils, into the warm fields of dreams. Morning comes reluctantly, sliding through the narrow windows in pale, watery rays. You rise slowly, your joints stiff, as though the night has woven your bones into the mattress. You wrap your habit tightly, feeling its coarse fabric against your skin, an anchor to the world you can't escape. In the kitchen, Sister Julianne is already at the hearth, stirring a pot that smells faintly of boiled leeks and stale bread. You join her, slicing hard, wrinkled onions, the juice stinging your eyes until they overflow. You pretend it's just the onions, though you know the tears run deeper. Outside the kitchen window, you glimpse the orchard again, the branches now bare and black against the gray sky. You remember the warmth of that one spring day, the sun on your face, the laughter that nearly broke you free. The memory feels like a secret garden hidden inside you, one no abyss can lock away. After chores, you're sent to the sewing room. There, rows of sisters sit hunched, the soft click of needles and the sigh of thread filling the room like rain. You mend torn habits, repair worn veils, patch linen sheets stained from the infirmary. The wool scrapes your fingertips raw, each stitch a silent surrender. Sister Agnes sits nearby, her face pale and eyes shadowed. You catch her gaze for a fleeting second, just enough to feel the warmth of shared suffering. Her hands tremble slightly as she works, and you wonder if she too carries small notes in her sleeve. If she too dreams of wide fields and blue skies beyond the convent walls. At midday prayers, you kneel until your knees scream. The chapel is heavy with the scent of incense and cold stone. You whisper psalms as though they might stitch your spirit back together. Around you, the sisters chant, their voices rising and falling like a mournful tide. You hear a cough from the back, Sister Julienne, her lungs weakened from years of smoke and steam. No one turns to look. Compassion is dangerous here, a luxury no one can afford.
Later, you're sent to clean the dormitory floors. You scrub until your arms burn, the water icy and blackened by dirt. You watch your reflection ripple on the bucket's surface. A pale, hollow face, eyes rained with fatigue. You wonder if your family would recognize you now. When night falls, the sisters gather for compline. The abbess leads with a voice that seems carved from marble. You bow, you stand, you murmur your lines. Yet somewhere beneath the surface of your mind, other words bloom quietly. Freedom, warmth, love. Words that glow faintly, like coals hidden in ash. As the final chant fades, you slip back to your cell. You light a tiny stub of candle, shielding it with your hands as though protecting a newborn bird. You unfold the note again, tracing each letter slowly. You are not forgotten. You read it over and over, letting the words wrap around you like a warm shawl. You think of Sister Madeline's empty bed. You think of Sister Julian's cough, Sister Agnes's trembling hands. You think of the orchard, of stolen laughter, of bread that isn't stale, of honey and ripe pears. You think of your hair, once long and bright, now hidden under layers of obedience. And beneath the sorrow, you feel something flicker, a quiet defiance, a soft but steady heartbeat, whispering that you are still alive. Tonight, as you close your eyes, you imagine your spirit slipping out into the night sky, soaring over the orchard, beyond the village, beyond the horizon. You feel the wind in your hair, the warmth of moonlight on your bare skin. You are more than your habit, more than your prayers, more than your silence. Drift softly now, dear dreamer. Let these visions carry you far beyond the walls. Let your breaths grow slow and deep, and rest in the gentle embrace of all you have hidden inside.
The next morning begins like every other, a slow, reluctant rising into the biting cold. The same echoing bell calling you from half-forgotten dreams. You wrap your veil around your head, tucking away every stray thought, every secret warmth you still carry. In the refectory, the morning meal is even thinner than usual. A pale broth with a few wilted cabbage leaves floating like lost boats. You sip it slowly, the warmth barely reaching your chest.
Across the table, Sister Agnes's hands tremble so badly that she spills a little on her habit. You watch her, your heart twisting. No one offers a cloth. No one speaks. Silence, always. After the meal, you are assigned to the orchard. The barren trees stretch their thin limbs toward the pale winter sky, each branch like a pleading hand. You gather fallen twigs and rotting fruit for the compost pile. The smell is sharp and sour, filling your nose until you feel dizzy. Still, here under the gray sky, you feel something close to freedom. The cold wind stings your cheeks, and for a moment you almost feel alive again. You pause to look beyond the convent walls to the rolling fields and the distant thatched rooftops of the village. You imagine children playing in the mud, a dog barking joyfully, a woman humming as she bakes bread. Simple, ordinary joys that now feel like the most impossible treasures. When the bell tolls for midday prayer, you trudge back inside, dirt under your nails and the orchard's sharp air clinging to your skin. In the cloister hallway, Sister Julienne leans against the wall, coughing into her sleeve. You hurry to her, steadying her arm, feeling how frail she has become. Her eyes meet yours, and in them you see gratitude, sorrow, and something else. A quiet resignation, perhaps, or a final goodbye already forming behind her eyelids. After prayers, you return to the laundry, where steam rises in thick clouds. The smell of lye burns your throat as you scrub habits and sheets, your fingers red and raw. You imagine the threads beneath your hands are tiny chains, and each movement of the brush is a silent rebellion against the life forced upon you. That evening at supper, you hear the sisters murmur prayers over the hard bread, each syllable dry and cracked like the crust. You watch Sister Agnes pick at her food, her movements slow and careful as though each crumb carries a secret. You wonder again, was it her who slipped you the note? You long to ask, but the words stay trapped behind your teeth like caged birds. During Compline, you notice the abbess watching the sisters closely, her sharp eyes scanning each bowed head for weakness. You feel her gaze on your neck, heavy and cold, and you lower your eyes deeper into your psalter. But inside, that ember of defiance glows brighter. You think again of that single phrase, "You are not forgotten." It has become a quiet drumbeat beneath every chant, every prayer, every breath. As the final bell tolls, you shuffle back to your cell. You slip under your thin blanket, the night pressing close around you. Your hands tremble as you unfold the note again, smoothing the creases like a cherished relic. Tonight, you dare to dream further. You imagine stepping beyond the convent gates, your bare feet touching the earth without fear. You see yourself running through a meadow, hair unbound, laughter echoing into the dusk. You imagine warm bread, honey on your tongue, a hand in yours. And though your eyes sting with tears, you feel something like joy blooming quietly in your chest, small and stubborn, a wild flower cracking through stone. Rest now, dear dreamer. Let these visions fill your heart, carry you beyond these walls into gentle meadows and soft starlit fields. Breathe deeply. You are not forgotten. Tonight, as you lie on your straw mattress, you listen to the wind rattling the wooden shutters. It sounds almost like someone whispering your name beyond the walls. A soft, persistent calling that wraps around your heart. You turn onto your side, clutching the note like a small flame against the vast cold. You remember the days before the convent, the warm smell of baking bread in your mother's kitchen, the sweet tang of ripe berries crushed between your fingers. You remember laughter, loud and unguarded, rising into the summer air like birds taking flight. In the convent, laughter is a dangerous extravagance. Even a small smile must be carefully hidden, smothered beneath layers of wool and ritual. The only sounds allowed are prayers, coughs, and the endless creak of worn shoes on stone floors. When the morning bell tolls, you rise in the dark, the air so cold your breath turns into a fog that clings to your veil. You join the line of sisters moving silently to the chapel, each step as heavy as an iron chain. The candles flicker weakly, casting long shadows on the vaulted ceiling, like ghostly hands reaching out to you. Today, you're assigned to the infirmary again. The air is thick with vinegar and the sharp sting of herbs. You help Sister Agnes change bandages, her fingers trembling so much that you guide her hands as though she were a child. She glances at you once, her eyes soft and wet with gratitude, and you know, without a word, that she feels the same aching loneliness gnawing at her bones. In the far corner, Sister Julienne lies pale and unmoving, her breath shallow as ripples on a still pond. You press a cool cloth to her forehead, whispering the same prayer over and over, as if the repetition might stitch her spirit back into her body. But with each labored breath, you sense her slipping further away, as though she is already stepping into that vast meadow you've both only dreamed of. Afterwards, you wash your hands at the cold stone basin. The water is icy, biting your raw skin until it turns pink and numb. You stare at your reflection, a thin face, shadowed eyes, a veil framing your features like prison bars. You hardly recognize the girl you once were. At supper, the bread is so hard you must soak it in thin broth to chew it. You listen to the slow scraping of bowls, the quiet coughing that punctuates the silence. No one speaks. The abbess watches from her place at the head table, her gaze as sharp as a blade, cutting away any sign of warmth. After Compline, you walk slowly through the cloistered walk, moonlight filtering in through the narrow arches. The courtyard is still and empty, the orchard branches like black veins against the sky. You pause, your hand pressed to the cold stone pillar, feeling the tremor in your chest, a longing so fierce it almost topples you. In your cell, you unfold the note once more, running your fingers over the letters as though they were the face of a beloved friend. You are not forgotten. You imagine the words glowing softly in the dark, a small beacon guiding you somewhere beyond the walls, beyond the endless grayness of these days. Tonight you let your mind drift further than ever before. You imagine your feet sinking into warm earth, your hair blowing free in the wind, your voice rising in song without fear of punishment. You imagine love, a love so bright it might blind you, a love that feels like sunlight on your bare skin after endless winters. As your eyes finally grow heavy, you feel that small ember within you pulse one last time, strong and defiant, whispering, "You are alive. You are more than this." Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let the moon cradle you. Let your breath become a gentle river flowing toward distant fields. You are not forgotten. You never were. Morning arrives in a pale hush, seeping through the narrow cracks in the shutters like a reluctant ghost. You wake slowly, your body heavy with aches from another night on the straw mattress. You press your hand to your chest, feeling the faint thrum of your heart, a quiet, stubborn rhythm that has not yet surrendered. The bell tolls and you rise, pulling the habit over your shoulders like a shroud. You join the silent line of sisters moving through the cold hallway, each step echoing like a hollow drum. You catch Sister Agnes's eye for a fleeting moment. Her gaze is softer today, as if she too is carrying a secret warmth in the hollow of her chest. After morning prayers, you are sent to the kitchen to help prepare what passes for the midday meal. You chop root vegetables so soft and shriveled they collapse under your knife. The scent is sour, earthy, and somehow both comforting and revolting. Your fingers, cracked from constant washing and scrubbing, sting as they brush against the salted water. Sister Juliane is not here today. Her absence pulses in the kitchen like an unspoken grief. You imagine her lying in the infirmary, her breaths shallow, her spirit slipping further from this world. You pause your work, eyes closing, whispering a silent wish that wherever she drifts, she finds warmth and kindness waiting for her. Later, you carry the heavy pot of thin stew down the hall, your arms trembling with the weight. The hallway is lined with flickering candles, their flames shivering in the cold drafts that sneak through the cracks. You pause to rest, leaning against the stone wall, feeling its chill seep into your bones. You think of the orchard, of the way the apple blossoms smelled in spring. You remember a single stolen moment last year, a small, underripe apple hidden in your robe, eaten in secret beneath the moonlight. The sharp, sour sweetness had felt like a miracle on your tongue. You can almost taste it now, and it makes your empty stomach clench. At midday meal, you watch Sister Agnes struggle to lift her spoon, her hands shaking so badly that broth spills into her lap. You reach across the table to steady her bowl, your fingers brushing hers. The touch is brief but electric, a spark in the sea of grayness. She looks up at you, and in her eyes you see a flicker, not of gratitude alone, but of shared understanding. You are both trapped, and yet, inside, you are both still alive. In the afternoon, you are sent to mend habits in the sewing room. The air is filled with the quiet hiss of thread slipping through cloth, punctuated by the occasional sigh or stifled cough. Your hands work automatically, each stitch a small act of obedience, and, quietly, a small act of endurance. You think of the note hidden in your sleeve, its words thrumming beneath your skin like a second heartbeat. As twilight falls, the abbess enters, her gaze sweeping across the room like a cold wind. She pauses behind you, her breath at your ear. You feel her presence like a blade against your spine. But she moves on without a word, and you exhale slowly, carefully, as though your life depends on silence. Compline comes, and you move with the sisters to the chapel. The chants rise and fall, echoing into the high, dark arches above. You close your eyes and imagine your voice is a bird slipping between the stones and flying into the starlit sky beyond. Later, in your cell, you light your tiny candle, shielding its weak flame with your cupped hands. You unfold the note again, smoothing its worn edges, whispering the words to yourself. You are not forgotten. Over and over until they feel like a blessing, a promise, a prayer stronger than any you have learned here. Tonight, as you slip beneath your blanket, you let your mind wander. You see fields blooming with wildflowers, rivers reflecting the soft blush of dawn, a table filled with warm bread and honey. You feel a gentle touch at your cheek, a laugh echoing in the air, your laugh, unburdened and free. Sleep deeply now, dear dreamer. Let these visions cradle you beyond the walls, beyond the habits and penances, into soft fields where your spirit can run wild. You are not forgotten. You are alive.
Dawn arrives with a gentle gray light, sliding across your face like a cold hand. You lie still for a moment, listening to the soft rustle of habits and the hushed footfalls of the sisters rising in the dark. You clutch the note beneath your blanket, feeling its thin edges press into your skin. A fragile lifeline to a world beyond these walls. The bell tolls. You stand and dress in the frigid air, your breath rising in quick, ghostly clouds. Each morning feels like a small death, a surrender of warmth and softness to the cold demands of obedience. Yet somewhere inside, beneath the layers of wool and ritual, something flickers on, stubborn as a lantern flame in a storm. During lauds, you kneel with the others in the chapel, the chants weaving around you like a heavy cloak. The incense is so thick today that your head swims and you sway slightly, your forehead dipping to the worn wooden pew in front of you. You imagine for a moment that the chants are waves and you are floating far from shore, drifting toward someplace warm and bright. After prayers, you are sent to help prepare the altar linens. The sacristy is cold, smelling of wax, old wood, and faint mildew. You wash the linens carefully, your fingers moving with practiced precision. Each fold an act of silent submission. Sister Agnes works beside you, her face pale but her eyes watchful. At one point, your hands brush hers, and she gasps softly, a sound so small yet so loud in the endless hush of this place. You meet her gaze,
In that shared glance, you see an entire conversation, 1,000 unspoken fears, tiny sparks of longing, and the fragile thread of a shared humanity that still pulses between you. You almost smile. Almost. Later, you carry the folded livens into the chapel. The tall candles are being trimmed, their stubs scattered on the floor like pale broken bones. You pick up each piece carefully, feeling their cold, waxy weight in your palm. They remind you of all the small parts of yourself you've been forced to discard here. Tiny flames snuffed out, piece by piece. At the midday meal, Sister Agnes sits across from you. Today, the bread is so stale it splinters when you break it, crumbs scattering across the rough wooden table. You chew slowly, your jaw aching, each bite a reminder of the daily scarcity. You notice a faint bruise on Agnes's wrist, perhaps from carrying water or scrubbing floors until her skin gave way. You long to reach across, to touch her, to offer something more than these scraps of bread and scraps of comfort. But you lower your gaze instead, swallowing your ache along with the hard crust. In the afternoon, you are tasked with tending the cloister garden. The winter earth is hard and unyielding beneath your fingers, but you kneel anyway, digging and turning the frozen soil. Each root you find feels like a small victory, a stubborn miracle hidden in the frost. The garden smells of damp earth and old leaves, a scent that, despite everything, reminds you of life beyond the walls. At sunset, the sisters gather in the cloister walk. The pale winter sun glows through the arched windows, painting thin gold lines on the floor. You watch the light shift across the cold stone, imagining it as a pathway leading you far, far away. You close your eyes and let yourself drift for a moment to a warm field, a river's gentle song, the laughter of a friend echoing under the trees. That night, after compline, you return to your cell, your feet heavy, your bones tired. You light your small candle, the flame trembling as though it shares your secret fears. You unfold the note once more, smoothing its edges with careful fingers. You press it to your lips, breathing in its quiet promise. You are not forgotten. You are loved. Before dawn, you wake with a sharp, sudden breath, as though surfacing from deep water. The small candle stub has burned down completely, leaving only a pool of cooled wax on the stone ledge. You clutch the note against your chest, feeling its frail strength pulse through you like a heartbeat. The bell tolls in the pre-dawn gloom, each strike sinking into your bones. You rise, your body moving out of habit rather than will. As you join the silent procession to the chapel, you feel the cold seep into your skin, each step a quiet surrender to the endless repetition. The morning chants rise around you, low and mournful, weaving a heavy veil over your thoughts. You close your eyes and drift beneath the words, slipping into a place where sunlight warms your face and your hands are free to move without fear. You see a wild meadow, bees humming lazily among the flowers, a distant village bell ringing not to command, but to invite. After prayers, you are sent to the cellar to fetch preserved vegetables. The air down there is thick and damp, carrying the sharp smell of old cabbage and sour turnips. You move carefully between barrels, the dim light from your lantern casting long, wavering shadows on the walls. Each footstep echoes like a question. Why are you here? Who might you have been? You pause, pressing your hand to the rough stone wall. You imagine your fingers growing roots, burrowing deep into the earth beyond, reaching for something warm and alive beneath all this cold obedience. You close your eyes, and for a heartbeat, you almost believe you can feel springs stirring in the soil far below. You carry the heavy basket back up the narrow steps, your arms straining, the rough wicker biting into your skin. In the kitchen, Sister Agnes helps you lift it onto the table. Your eyes meet, and for an instant, it feels like a warm embrace in the middle of a snowstorm. She holds your wrist lightly, her touch trembling with all the words you both cannot say.
At the midday meal, you watch her closely. She looks paler than ever today, her lips nearly colorless, her shoulders slumping as though she carries an invisible weight. You want to reach out, to steady her, to offer her some spark of your secret defiance. But instead, you tear a piece of your bread and push it quietly toward her bowl, hoping she will understand. She looks up, her eyes glistening, and for a moment you see her as she might have been before, laughing in a sunlit garden, her hair unbound, her face alive with light. The abbess notices nothing. Her eyes remain fixed ahead, her lips moving in silent prayers that sound more like warnings than blessings. After the meal, you are sent to the scriptorium. The room is cold and still, filled with the dry whisper of turning pages and the faint scratch of quills. You copy psalms onto parchment, each letter a careful act of survival. The smell of ink is sharp and strangely soothing, a small anchor in the endless sea of ritual. Your mind drifts as you write. You imagine each letter as a footprint leading away from these walls, toward a warm hearth, a shared meal, a tender touch. You imagine your own voice rising in song, free and clear, echoing off the hills rather than these silent stones. As the sun slips below the horizon, you join the sisters for Compline. The final chant of the day wraps around you like a heavy cloak. You bow your head, but inside your spirit stirs and stretches, restless and alive. That night, you return to your cell and light a new candle stub. You unfold the note, your fingers tracing the words slowly, as though they were the lines of a beloved face. You are not forgotten. You whisper it aloud, your voice a fragile tremor in the dark. You slip beneath your blanket, the note pressed to your heart. You close your eyes and feel the warmth of a sun you have not seen in years, the softness of a breeze against your cheek, the echo of laughter rolling across a green field. Rest now, dear dreamer. Let your breath carry you beyond these walls, beyond the cold stone and endless prayers, into a world where you are whole, free, and forever remembered. You are not forgotten. The morning bell slices through your dreams like a cold blade. You stir slowly, your limbs heavy as stone. The air so cold it stings your throat with each breath. You rise,
the note still clutched against your chest, now soft and creased from so many nights held tight. You move through the motions of dressing, each fold of your habit another layer between you and the world you once knew. You join the silent line of sisters, shuffling into the chapel beneath the pale, flickering candlelight. The chants begin, low and mournful, curling around you like a fog. Your eyes drift to the stained glass above the altar, a riot of colors frozen in cold silence. You imagine stepping through it, feeling the sun-warmed glass beneath your palms, breaking into a field of golden light beyond. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you almost feel it. The warmth, the freedom, the bright air rushing into your lungs. After prayers, you are sent to the infirmary. Sister Julianne's bed now lies empty, the sheets stripped away, leaving only a hollow indentation where her fragile body once rested. The absence echoes in the room like a forgotten hymn, each corner heavy with a silence that presses against your chest. You help Sister Agnes wash the linens, her hands trembling so violently that you guide them with your own. Her skin feels paper thin and cold beneath your fingers. When she looks at you, her eyes are vast oceans of sorrow, but somewhere in their depths you still see a flicker, the last ember of who she once was. You work side by side, and though no words pass between you, each gentle touch is a secret conversation. I see you. I am with you. We are still here. In the afternoon, you gather herbs in the small winter garden. The earth is hard and reluctant, the leaves wilted and brown. You find a single sprig of rosemary stubbornly alive, its scent sharp and clean. You hold it to your nose, closing your eyes, and it feels like inhaling a memory of summer, of warmth, of life beyond these gray walls. You tuck the sprig into your sleeve, beside the folded note, two fragile relics of a world that insists on living inside you. At supper, you break the bread slowly, your hands stiff and cracked. Sister Agnes sits nearby, her face pale, her lips moving in silent prayers that tremble at the edges. You slip a small piece of your bread into her bowl, a tiny act of rebellion wrapped in care. She looks up, and her eyes glisten with quiet gratitude. Afterwards, as the sisters file into the chapel for compline, you pause in the cloister walk. The moonlight spills through the narrow arches, laying silver ribbons across the cold stone floor. You step into the light, tilting your head back to see the stars, tiny, stubborn fires in the endless dark. You imagine reaching up, gathering those stars into your palms, feeling their warmth soak into your skin. You imagine tossing them into the air like seeds, scattering light across every hidden corner of this silent world. That night, in your cell, you light your candle and unfold the note. You lay the rosemary beside it, breathing in its sharp, defiant scent. You trace each word of the note with your finger, whispering them into the shadows. You are not forgotten. Your voice trembles, but you keep repeating it, as though the words themselves could mend every broken piece inside you, as though they might reach Sister Agnes in her own silent cell, wrapping her in invisible arms. You slip beneath your blanket, the rosemary tucked beside your heart. You close your eyes and dream of fields that bloom in moonlight, of laughter echoing through dark woods, of hands clasped in warmth and safety. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let these small, wild pieces of hope carry you far beyond the convent walls. You are not forgotten. You are light. You are free. The morning begins in a hush, as though the very walls are holding their breath. You wake slowly, your body stiff, your fingers curled protectively around the rosemary sprig and the fragile note pressed to your chest. You lie there for a moment, feeling the thin beat of your heart beneath your ribs, a quiet drum that insists you are still here. When the bell finally tolls, you rise, slipping your habit over your shivering frame. The fabric feels heavier today, as though it carries the weight of every silent prayer, every hidden longing that has seeped into its threads over the years. You walk into the chapel, the air already thick with incense. You move like a ghost among the sisters, each step echoing faintly in the cavernous room. Your eyes drift once more to the stained glass above the altar. Today, it catches a faint hint of dawn light, painting tiny jewels of color across the cold stone floor. You imagine stepping into those fragments, letting them lift you into the sky beyond. After prayers, you are assigned to the laundry. The room is damp and cold, the smell of soap and wet wool hanging heavy in the air. You scrub linen habits until your hands feel as though they might dissolve. The water is icy, numbing your fingers and turning your knuckles raw. Sister Agnes works nearby. You see her struggling to wring out a heavy habit, her thin arms trembling with each twist. Without a word, you move to help her, your hands covering hers. She looks up sharply at first, then relaxes into your touch, her eyes softening. In that instant, the two of you move as one, as though the world outside this damp room has vanished. A single tear escapes down her cheek, but she does not wipe it away. You press your forehead gently to hers, just for a moment, a silent, sacred rebellion. Then, as quickly as it began, you separate, returning to your tasks as though nothing had happened. But in your chest, that hidden ember grows brighter, warmer. At midday meal, the bread is thinner than usual, more air than substance. You watch Sister Agnes nibble at hers, her hands trembling so violently that she nearly drops it. You slip another small piece toward her, your fingers brushing hers in a fleeting electric touch. She does not look up, but you feel her gratitude flow through the air between you like a soft, secret current. Later in the garden, you tend to the withered herbs, their leaves curling inward like tiny fists against the cold. You find a small patch of thyme, bravely green despite the frost. You pinch off a sprig, tucking it next to the rosemary in your sleeve. The scent clings to your fingers, bright and sharp, like a promise. As the day fades, you walk through the cloister, the golden glow of sunset slanting through the arches. You pause in the warmth of that fleeting light, your face tilted upward. You close your eyes and imagine the sun on your skin in midsummer, the smell of crushed grass beneath your feet, the sound of distant church bells ringing in joy rather than command. After complying, You return to your cell. You light your candle, its small flame trembling as though it shares your secret fears and hopes. You lay the rosemary and thyme side by side, unfolding the note once more. You read the words slowly, deliberately, savoring them as though they were honey on your tongue. You are not forgotten. Tonight, you whisper these words not only for yourself, but for Sister Agnes, for every silent voice breast beneath these heavy stones. You imagine the words floating through the corridors, seeping into the walls, carrying warmth into every cold, hidden corner. You slip beneath your blanket, the herbs pressed to your heart. You close your eyes and dream of running, your veil cast away, your hair whipping in the wind, Sister Agnes beside you, both of you laughing until the stars tremble with joy. Sleep softly now, dear dreamer. Let your breath carry you beyond the cold floors and dark hallways, into fields of wildflowers and summer sun. You are not forgotten. You are light. You are loved.
The morning arrives reluctantly, pale and shivering. You wake with the note and herbs still pressed to your chest, their scent faint but steady, a secret breath of a world beyond stone and silence. The bell tolls, each clang rolling through your bones like distant thunder. You rise slowly, each movement careful, as though you are trying not to shatter the fragile warmth you've gathered through the night. You smooth your habit over your shoulders, your fingers lingering on the hidden pocket where rosemary and thyme rest like small, stubborn talismans. In the chapel, the chants swell and fall like the sigh of an ocean you have never seen. You close your eyes and imagine salt wind on your face, waves crashing against the wild, rocky shore. Your lips move through the prayers, but your spirit drifts far beyond the cold arches, dancing over moonlit waves and laughing in the spray. After prayers, you are sent to the scriptorium. The room is cold and still, filled with the scratching of quills and the occasional cough. You sit at your narrow desk, dipping your pen into ink as dark as midnight. You copy sacred lines onto parchment, each letter another small act of silent survival. As you work, your thoughts wander. You imagine each curve of your letters as a path leading you away, into meadows and forests, to sunlit kitchens and warm hearths. You imagine writing letters not to saints or abbesses, but to a dear friend waiting by a riverbank, to a mother humming softly at dusk, or a sister laughing under a summer sky. At one point, your hand falters. A drop of ink splashes across the parchment, a tiny, rebellious wound on the page. You stare at it, and for a moment, it feels like a small, dark star, proof that even here, something wild and uncontrollable still lives within you. When the abbess enters, her robes sweep across the floor like a silent storm. She pauses behind you, her eyes sharp and searching. You keep your head bowed, your breath held tight in your chest. Her gaze lingers, a cold weight on your shoulders, before she moves on. You exhale slowly, feeling your heart pound in your throat. At midday meal, the bread is so thin it seems almost transparent in the weak light. You see Sister Agnes across the table,
her face pale, her hands trembling as she lifts the crust to her lips. You slip her another piece when no one watches, your fingers brushing hers in a fleeting electric touch. She does not look up, but you see her shoulders ease slightly, a tiny ripple of relief passing through her. After the meal, you are sent to help clean the refectory. You scrub the long wooden tables, the smell of vinegar sharp in the air. Your fingers sting in the cold water, each motion a silent prayer for escape. You find a small splinter lodged in your palm and pause to pull it free, watching the tiny drop of blood bloom like a wild berry. You press the wound to your lips, tasting iron and remembering cherries on a warm summer afternoon, juice staining your fingers and laughter echoing in the air. As dusk falls, the sisters gather in the cloistered walk. The sky beyond the arches blazes with the final defiant glow of sunset, deep orange, bruised purple, a fleeting miracle before the night claims it all. You stop and watch, your eyes wide, drinking in every color as though it might vanish forever. Later, in your cell, you light your candle, its glow soft and wavering. You place the rosemary and thyme beside the note, tracing each word with trembling fingers. You are not forgotten. Tonight you whisper those words over and over, as though weaving a spell to protect every hidden spark of life within you and Sister Agnes. You close your eyes, pressing the herbs to your lips, breathing in their wild, stubborn scent. You slip beneath your blanket, feeling the warmth of imagined sunlight on your skin, the rustle of summer grass under your feet. You see yourself running, hair unbound, laughter tumbling free into the twilight. You see Sister Agnes beside you, her face bright and alive, her hands strong and warm in yours. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let these visions cradle you beyond walls and shadows, into a world where every breath is free and every heartbeat sings. You are not forgotten. You are light. You are infinite. The morning bell peals through the darkness, a sharp sound that cuts into your fragile dreams. You open your eyes slowly, as though surfacing from a deep, warm lake. Your fingers instinctively reach for the note and the small herbs, your secret anchors to something beyond the endless cold. You rise, your body heavy, each joint creaking in protest. The habit feels heavier today, as if it remembers every sorrow pressed into its rough wool. You slip the rosemary and thyme into your sleeve, close to your pulse, their scents a soft defiance against the grayness. In the chapel, the chants wrap around you like a damp shroud. Your voice moves with the others, but inside you drift elsewhere, to a sun-dappled clearing in the woods, the whisper of wind through birch leaves, the soft hush of moss beneath your bare feet. After prayers, you are assigned to the orchard again. The winter branches stretch skyward like thin, pleading arms. You move between the trees, gathering fallen twigs and clearing frost-bitten fruit. Your breath puffs around you in small clouds, dissolving into the pale morning light. You pause beside an old apple tree, its bark cracked and gnarled, a silent testament to survival. You rest your forehead against it, feeling its cold roughness, imagining its roots hidden deep in the earth, reaching quietly for life, no matter the season. You close your eyes and breathe in the faint, bitter scent of its last shriveled apples, a scent that somehow carries the memory of blossoms and honeyed air. Sister Agnes appears nearby, her steps slow, her hands wrapped tight around her habit. You catch her eye across the frost-crusted grass. For a moment the world holds its breath. You walk toward her, stopping just close enough that your fingers nearly touch. She looks down quickly, but in her lowered gaze you see all the words neither of you can say. You both kneel in the frost, your knees aching, your hands working side by side to gather the fallen twigs. Your shoulders brush, your breaths mingle in the cold air. Small, secret intimacies that echo louder than any spoken prayer.
At midday meal, the bread is thin and hard, the broth little more than salted water. You break your bread carefully, slipping a larger piece into Sister Agnes's bowl when no one looks. She does not lift her eyes, but her hand pauses, pressing lightly to yours beneath the table for the briefest, trembling moment. In the afternoon, you are sent to clean the chapel steps. You scrub the cold stone until your fingers turn numb, each movement a silent chant. I am here. I am still alive. I am not forgotten. You pause to flex your sore hands, watching the water run red where it mixes with your cracked skin. The pain is sharp but strangely clarifying, a bright reminder of your own stubborn heartbeat. As twilight falls, you gather in the cloister walk once more. The sky is a deep indigo streaked with the last pink threads of day. You lean against a pillar, your face turned toward the heavens, breathing in the dusk as though it were a long-lost lover. Later, in your cell, you light your candle with shaking hands. You lay the rosemary and thyme before you, their green still miraculously alive against the cold stone. You unfold the note carefully, smoothing its softened edges as if they were delicate petals. You whisper the words slowly, feeling each one fill the space around you like warm breath on a winter window. You are not forgotten. Tonight, you imagine yourself stepping beyond the convent walls, Sister Agnes beside you. You see a forest path lit by moonlight, your footprints soft in the moss, laughter echoing between the trees. You feel her hand slip into yours, strong and certain. Together, you walk toward a horizon that finally opens wide. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let the stars guide you. Let your breath carry you far beyond these stone walls, into a world where you can run and sing and never look back. You are not forgotten. You are the dawn waiting just beyond the night.
The dawn is a pale ghost today, barely more than a gray sigh against the horizon. You wake slowly, your eyes heavy with dreams that still cling to the edges of your mind like morning mist. Your fingers immediately reach beneath your blanket, closing around the rosemary and thyme, their scents a quiet reminder that something inside you still blooms. You rise, your movement slow and deliberate, as though each gesture is a silent prayer to hold on just a little longer. The habit feels heavier than ever, its rough wool dragging at your shoulders like chains woven from all the swallowed words and stifled laughter. In the chapel, the chants roll over you, each syllable a cold stone dropped into a deep well. Your lips move, but inside, your spirit floats far away to a small sun-warmed clearing where light filters through young leaves and the gentle breeze smells of herbs and wild honey. After prayers, you are sent to the kitchen. The air is thick with the smell of smoke and turnip peelings, the fire crackling like a distant storm. You chop onions until your eyes stream, each tear carrying with it a tiny shard of sorrow you dare not voice. Sister Agnes works beside you, slicing hard bread into thin, uneven pieces. You catch glimpses of her trembling hands, the dark shadows beneath her eyes. At one moment, your fingers brush hers on the worn wooden counter. You both pause, as though the walls themselves are holding their breath. Then she pulls away gently, her eyes dropping, and the spell shatters like thin ice. At midday meal, you slip her the slightly larger piece of bread again, as you always do. Today, her fingers linger on yours a heartbeat longer. She finally lifts her eyes to yours, and in that glance, you feel the rush of an entire summer, of warmth, of words never allowed to live. In the afternoon, you are sent to help mend the sisters' habits in the sewing room. The air is filled with the faint scent of wool, the click of needles, the soft rustle of thread through cloth, a kind of quiet music, almost tender, if not for the undercurrent of exhaustion in every movement.
Your hands work automatically. Each stitch a small defiance, each mend a silent vow to keep going. You slip your hand into your sleeve to touch the herbs hidden there, the rosemary and thyme pressing back against your skin like tiny pulses of life. Through the high, narrow window, you see the sky begin to turn the bruised colors of evening. You pause, needle held still in the air, your eyes fixed on that patch of fading light. You imagine stepping into it, your bare feet on warm earth, the smell of pine and sea salt in the breeze. You imagine laughter, your own, free and ringing across open fields. After Compline, the sisters shuffle silently through the cloister walk, their heads bowed, their steps echoing like soft drums. You drift to the edge, leaning into a cold pillar, your face turned upward to catch a thin sliver of moon. Its light feels cool and forgiving, slipping across your cheeks like a gentle hand. Later, in your cell, you light your candle, its flame small but fiercely bright. You lay the note and the herbs before you, arranging them carefully like sacred relics. You trace each word of the note as if they are paths leading away from the convent walls, each letter a stepping stone toward a life still waiting somewhere beyond the horizon. You whisper the words again, your voice trembling but steady. You are not forgotten. Tonight, you see yourself running beneath a moonlit sky, the forest alive with soft rustlings and the scent of wild herbs. You feel Sister Agnes's hand slip into yours, her laughter tumbling free and bright. Together, you run beyond every gate, every rule, every stone wall that ever sought to bind you. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let the moon guard you. Let your breath carry you to those secret meadows where no bells toll and no doors are ever locked.
You are not forgotten. You are the wild, the light, the promise of another dawn.
The morning breaks slowly, like a reluctant breath. You wake in the half-darkness, the cold clinging to your skin, the blanket stiff from the damp night air. Before your feet touch the floor, your hands find the rosemary and thyme, their sharp, comforting scent rising around you like an invisible shield. The bell tolls and you rise, each movement slow and heavy. You slip the herbs and the note into your sleeve, close to your heart, as if they might warm the chill that never quite leaves your bones. In the chapel, the chants swell in the shadows, echoing against the high arches above. You bow your head, your lips moving in rote obedience, but your mind drifts far away to a sunlit clearing, to the taste of honey on warm bread, to a laughter so bright it might crack open the entire sky. After prayers, you are sent to fetch water from the well in the courtyard. The air is sharp, biting at your cheeks, but the sky is a delicate blue today, a rare softness above the harsh stone walls. You lower the bucket slowly, the rope creaking and groaning, and you watch your own reflection ripple on the dark surface below. For a moment, you see yourself as you might have been, hair loose and shining, eyes bright with unguarded joy, a smile unburdened by vows and silence. You see Sister Agnes beside you, her hand brushing yours as you both laugh at some small shared secret. The bucket hits the water with a deep echo. You draw it up, your arms straining, the rope rough against your palms. You pour the heavy water into earthen jars, each splash a small reminder of life moving forward, even here. When you return to the kitchen, you find Sister Agnes waiting. Her eyes are heavy with fatigue, but when she sees you, something sparks quietly in their depths. You pass close enough to press a sprig of thyme into her palm, your fingers closing briefly around hers. She does not look up, but her shoulders soften, her breath catches. At midday meal, you sit across from her, your knees brushing under the table. Today, she manages a small, almost invisible smile when you slide a piece of bread toward her bowl. That tiny upturn of her lips feels like a sunrise breaking through endless gray clouds.
In the afternoon, you are sent to polish the candlesticks in the chapel. You kneel on the cold floor, your hands moving slowly over the brass, each circle of the cloth another whispered vow. I am here. I am alive. I am not forgotten. The candle stubs lie scattered nearby, their waxy bodies bent and broken. You collect them tenderly, tucking the smallest one into your sleeve alongside your hidden treasures, another small light to carry when the darkness presses close. As the sun dips low, the sisters gather for vespers. You glance toward Sister Agnes, her face turned toward the fading light streaming through the stained glass. The colors dance over her pale skin, soft blues, deep reds, golden streaks that make her look almost otherworldly, like a saint stepping down from the glass to breathe, if only for a moment. After Compline, you walk slowly back to your cell. The night air cuts sharp against your cheeks, but the sky above is filled with stars, each one a tiny, fierce pulse of possibility.
You stop in the cloister walk, tilting your head back, letting the starlight spill into your eyes, your mouth, your heart. Later in your cell, you light your candle. Its small flame trembles, but it burns on, like you. You lay out your note, the rosemary, the thyme, and now the tiny stub of wax. You arrange them carefully, like a secret altar to all that you still dream, all that you still are. You trace the words again, slowly, deliberately. You are not forgotten. Tonight, you dream of a forest path bathed in moonlight, of wildflowers brushing your bare ankles, of Sister Agnes's laughter tumbling through the trees. You see a warm cabin beyond the pines, a hearth glowing, a table set with bread and honey and fresh herbs. You see yourself step inside, free, whole, alive. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let the stars watch over you. Let your breath carry you beyond every locked door and every heavy vow. You are not forgotten. You are starlight. You are the secret blooming in the dark.
The morning comes wrapped in a thin, icy fog that slips through the cracks of your cell, curling around your fingers as you wake. You stir slowly, your breath blooming in small white puffs above you, each one a ghostly whisper of the warmth you once knew. Before you rise, you press your hand to your sleeve, feeling the gentle bulge of rosemary, thyme, and the small candle stub, your tiny constellation of defiance, pulsing softly against your skin. You close your eyes for a moment, breathing in their mingled scents, letting them steady you before the day's quiet battles begin. The bell tolls, echoing through the corridors like a distant call to a world you might have once belonged to. You move through the motions of dressing, your fingers numb, your mind already drifting beyond the walls. In the chapel, the morning chants fill the air, weaving their cold, echoing veil. You bow and stand, your body moving while your spirit soars beyond the stained glass, beyond the arches, into a dawn-lit meadow where dew clings to wildflowers and the sky is an endless, forgiving blue. After prayers, you are sent to the refectory to help prepare the midday meal. The bread today is especially hard, and as you break it into uneven pieces, you think of fresh loaves pulled from a village oven, the scent of yeast and warmth filling a small kitchen. You imagine Sister Agnes beside you there, dusting flour from her hands, her face soft with laughter, her voice echoing in that sunlit room. She arrives to help carry the bread baskets, her eyes dark with fatigue but still glimmering with that secret's stubborn spark. As you pass her a basket, your fingers slip against hers. A tiny electric shiver dances up your arm, settling in your throat like a caught breath. At mealtime, she sits across from you again. You slide her the softer middle piece of your bread, your hand moving in a slow, careful arc as though placing a sacred relic on an altar. Her eyes rise to meet yours, and in that fleeting glance, you see an entire summer orchard, golden light, ripe fruit, the soft rustle of leaves and laughter in the air. In the afternoon, you are sent to the cloister garden. You dig into the frost-hardened earth with a small, dull trowel, each thrust another silent vow. I am alive. I am still here. Under the frozen topsoil, you find a tiny green shoot, trembling and pale. You cradle it gently in your palm, your breath warming its fragile leaves. You tuck it carefully into your sleeve with the herbs and candle stub, your hidden garden now blooming quietly against your skin. As dusk deepens, you linger in the cloister walk, the stone floor cold beneath your bare feet. Above, the sky is an aching tapestry of indigo and silver, the first stars piercing through like small, patient eyes. You tilt your head back, your lips parting as though to drink in that cold light. After compline, you return to your cell, your steps slow, your breath deep and steady. You light your candle, watching its small flame flicker and dance, casting long shadows that move like ghostly dancers across the walls. You lay out your treasures, the rosemary, the thyme, the small candle stub, and now the tiny green sprout. Each one a pulse of your own hidden wild heart. You unfold the note again, smoothing its creased edges with the tenderness of a lover's touch. You trace each word slowly. You are not forgotten. You mouth the words as though tasting honey, as though each syllable might weave a bridge to Sister Agnes, to that world you hold so fiercely inside. Tonight, in your dreams, you run barefoot through a moonlit orchard, the grass cool and forgiving beneath your feet. You feel her beside you, her hand warm and strong, her laughter ringing like a bell across the night. You see a small cabin beyond the trees, smoke curling from its chimney, a warm light spilling from the door, a place where every vow is a promise to live, not to shrink. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let your breath carry you past every wall, every cold vow, into the wild gardens waiting inside your heart. You are not forgotten. You are green shoots breaking through frost. You are warmth yet to come. The morning comes as a dim whisper rather than a call. You wake slowly, your body curled protectively around the hidden treasures in your sleeve. The rosemary, the thyme, the candle stub, and now the tiny green sprout. You press your hand over them, feeling their delicate pulse against your skin, as if they breathe with you in the darkness. The bell tolls. You rise, each movement deliberate and hushed, as though trying not to disturb a sleeping bird. The habit slides over your shoulders, heavy and rough, but beneath it, your secret garden glows like a hidden ember. In the chapel, the morning chants swirl around you in low waves. Your voice weaves through them, but your mind drifts to a forest at dawn, mist curling around mossy trunks, dew shimmering on leaves like tiny stars. You imagine walking there barefoot, feeling the earth soften under each step, hearing your laughter echo against the trees. After prayers, you are sent to the cellar to fetch salted root vegetables. The air below is thick and damp, heavy with the scent of earth and old wood. You move carefully through the narrow passage, your lantern casting long, trembling shadows that dance along the rough walls.
As you lift the heavy sack, your arms tremble, the weight pulling at your sore shoulders. You pause, leaning against the cold stone, pressing your forehead to it. You close your eyes and whisper to yourself, or perhaps to the herbs and sprout hidden in your sleeve, I am still here. I am not forgotten. On your way back up the steep stairs, Sister Agnes waits at the top, her hands clasped, her breath rising in soft clouds in the chill. She takes the sack from you without a word, her fingers brushing yours, a gentle electric contact that shoots warmth through your whole body. You hold her gaze for a moment longer than is allowed, the entire world suspended in that quiet, shared breath. At midday meal, you see her across the table, her eyes brighter today despite the hollow shadows beneath them. You slip her a softer piece of bread once more, your fingers meeting hers below the table. This time, she presses your hand back, her thumb tracing a slow, trembling arc across your knuckles, a silent message echoing louder than any chant.
In the afternoon, you help clean the worn wooden pews in the chapel. Your rag soaks up dust and old candle wax. Each stroke, a small act of devotion that feels somehow different now. Not to the convent, but to the tiny, fierce world you've been building inside. You glance toward the altar and imagine wildflowers scattered across it, their bright petals a riot of quiet rebellion. As the sun sets, you sneak a moment in the cloistered garden, kneeling by a patch of frostbitten herbs. You press your small sprout into the earth, tucking it carefully among the withered leaves. You whisper to it, your breath curling in the cold. Grow. Stay alive. We are the same. You run your fingers through the dirt, feeling its chill seep into your bones, but also its promise of life hidden just beneath. After Compline, you return to your cell in the dark, your steps slow, the hallways echoing with the fading chants of your sisters. You light your candle, its flame small and golden, trembling like a heartbeat in the silent room. You lay out the rosemary, thyme, and the remaining tiny candle stub. You close your eyes and unfold the note again, smoothing its soft, creased paper. You trace each letter slowly, reverently, whispering the words until they fill the air around you like a gentle warmth. You are not forgotten. Tonight, in your dream, you walk hand in hand with Sister Agnes through a moonlit meadow. You feel the cool grass brushing your ankles, hear the soft rustle of the night air weaving through her hair. You see a cabin ahead, its window glowing, a warm light waiting to embrace you both. You step inside together, laughter spilling into the dark like honey, your hearts blooming wild and free. Sleep now, dear dreamer. Let the moonlight guide you beyond every vow, beyond every wall, into that tender, endless field where you belong. You are not forgotten. You are the secret garden that no frost can kill.
The dawn arrives silently, a pale wash of light slipping across the cold stone floor of your cell. You open your eyes slowly, your breath rising in soft clouds, each exhale a quiet surrender and a quiet prayer. Your hand moves first to your sleeve, feeling for the rosemary and thyme, the candle stub, and the memory of that tiny sprout now hidden safely in the garden earth.
You press your fingers there, feeling the echoes of warmth still humming faintly beneath your skin. You rise, your movements careful and deliberate, your heart heavy but beating with a secret rhythm known only to you and Sister Agnes. The bell tolls, distant and echoing, like a call from another world you no longer truly belong to. In the chapel, the chants move around you like a cold river. You bow and rise, your lips shaping prayers that feel thinner and further away with each day. Your mind drifts instead to moonlit paths, to summer orchards, to hands clasped in secret, defiant tenderness. After prayers, you are sent to the orchard. The frost has spread like a delicate lace over every branch and twig, the morning light catching on each ice crystal as though the world has been adorned with tiny stars. You walk between the trees slowly, your fingers trailing along the rough bark, greeting each silent witness to your whispered dreams. You kneel by the spot where you planted the small sprout. You brush the frost away gently, your breath warming the cold earth. You whisper to it, your voice a soft promise. Grow, remember us. Sister Agnes appears beside you, her breath quick in the cold. Without a word, she kneels too, her hand finding yours beneath the folds of your habit. For a moment, the entire world stops. No chants, no walls, no abbess watching from the shadows. Just two hands, two heartbeats, two souls shining in the frost-bitten morning. At midday meal, she sits close, her knees brushing yours under the rough wooden table. You share your bread as always, but today you both hold the touch a little longer, the warmth blooming quietly between your palms like an early spring flower. In the afternoon, you return to the sewing room for the last time. You mend a torn veil slowly, each stitch a final, secret vow. You slip a single rosemary leaf into its seam, hidden from every eye but yours. A small token, a whispered rebellion, a tiny green vein of hope sewn into the gray fabric of obedience. At sunset, you slip away to the cloister walk, the arches now painted with the softest gold and violet. You press your hand to the stone pillar, feeling its cold weight, and then look up at the sky, your eyes wide, drinking in every last drop of light. After Compline, you return to your cell one final time. You light your candle, its flame steady and calm, as though it too knows this is the end of one journey and the beginning of another. You lay out the rosemary, the thyme, the candle stub. You unfold the note slowly, smoothing its edges with trembling fingers. You are not forgotten. You whisper the words aloud, your voice a quiet hymn to every small act of kindness, every hidden dream, every laugh you carry through the silent halls. You close your eyes, pressing the note to your lips, then to your heart. Tonight, in your dream, you walk beyond the orchard gates with Sister Agnes at your side. You step barefoot into a moonlit field, the cool grass wrapping around your ankles like silk. You run together, laughing, your hair streaming behind you like dark banners of freedom. Ahead, a cabin glows warmly, a door open in welcome. You cross the threshold together, hand in hand.
Inside, the table is set with warm bread, honey, and herbs. A small fire crackles softly, its light dancing over your faces, unbound and alive. You turn to Sister Agnes, and in that gaze, you finally see not just survival, but a new life shimmering quietly, waiting. Sleep deeply now, dear dreamer. Let these visions carry you far beyond any stone wall, beyond every vow and every shadow. You are not forgotten. You are the moonlight on frost, the bloom beneath the snow, the laughter echoing in a midnight orchard. You are free. Good night.